All right, it is SNL next week. Final on-field activity before training camp. The Junes are upon us. Landry Locker, Cody Stutes with you. I guess we'll get a little bit of what's the word that we're looking for next week when it comes to this CJ Stroud thing? What's the ideal result is obviously that he goes out there and throws, but what is the result that you think is going to happen, and what exactly are we looking for?
Well, the hope is clarity, and clarity would be him throwing the football and having a little bit less worry about him not throwing, a mere 6 weeks before they take the field for training camp to get ready for the 2025 season. So clarity is what I'm hoping for. Mystery is what we will get. I mean, they're going to be mysterious and not say much or not say anything or not give us an answer, or we're going to do handoffs and no throws, or, maybe he's not out there at all. It will be mystery. We're hoping for clarity. We will get mystery.
Yeah. And I think we're going to see him not throw, and we're just going to await training camp, and we're going to have to go through this whole awkward delivery with D'Amico Ryans. Do you think that D'Amico and Caserio ever get together and they kind of ask, hey, did we deliver that message well? How would you rank our messaging? Do you think they ever get together and do that?
If they did that, who would they be asking for feedback? Would they be asking each other? Would they be asking like somebody else in the building that's on the staff? Would they be asking PR? Like if they went through and rethought it, which I don't think they do. I think they say what they say and they keep going. They move on. It's the next day. Take care of business the next day. The podium can't hurt us, and it certainly can't hurt us in June. So, but if they did rethink it, who would they go to rethink it? Who would they go speak to?
I think they would probably just have to talk to each other, right?
They just like D'Amico pops in Nick's office, like around the corner, and he's like, "Yep, did I do okay? Is that what you're looking for?" Like, is that like he like like when the guy that you're in like an office, you're in your cubicle, you're in an office, the guy peeks around the corner. He's like, "Eh."
I feel like you give D'Amico too much immunity for the approach. And I'm not saying you're wrong. It's just my personal take. Like it feels like, and you can correct me if I'm wrong.
Immunity. I hated what he did.
No. Hear me out. I know that you didn't like the overall message, but I feel like, and McClain does this too, John McClain, a lot of people really, but I feel like you blame Caserio as if he is the ringleader of the delivery. And I think D'Amico I think he has the same approach of kind of keeping it real gone wrong when it comes to the delivery of these types of messages. I think you're unfairly blaming Nick for this.
But no. I'm not placing all the blame on Caserio. I just don't believe that he's blameless. They shoulder the blame. They're the two people that decide how this organization operates, what the forward-facing conversation is about this team. They're the two. So, I mean, if D'Amico's not doing something that makes the Texans or, that they're not on board with, Caserio should say something, vice versa. Like they should have a conversation with each other if they don't feel like they're in lockstep on the messaging. It just feels like they maybe powwowed about the messaging, and that's what they ended up with.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't disagree that if D'Amico Ryans wanted to say general soreness, or he wanted to say, yeah, his shoulder fell off last week, we put it back on, like he would do it if he wanted to. But like nobody can stop him. Yeah. But I don't think he wants to. I think he's not blameless in creating the approach, the avenue that they went down.
Yeah, I just don't know. Like it's not disastrous. It's just not great. And I think when it's one thing when it's Christian Harris or gaslighting of the offensive line, but when the quarterback starts to come into play, that's where you kind of get viral. That's where the Coaches Speak Index or NFL Live on ESPN picks up, and they start to kind of notice the delivery. And that's because this is nothing new if you've covered the Texans. It's just when it comes to the quarterback, it kind of gets a little bit more magnified. So
yeah, let's play a few less games when the QB is involved.
yes, and just chill, and then just say what happened, and no one's really going to hound you on it. So I'm with you on that. So I was looking at a couple of things before the show, and I think tonight on my night stream, I'm going to focus on how the Texans have, in their entire history, they've never made the playoffs as a wild card. Never happened.
Okay.
The 8 times that they've been in the playoffs, 11, 12, 15, 16, 18, 19, and then 23 and 24, it was all as division titles. It was all division titles. So they've never been to the playoffs 3 straight years. They've never won the division 3 straight years. And they've never been to the playoffs as a wild card. Do you think that the Texans have to win the division to get into the playoffs? Or could you see them getting a wild card? Now, we will factor in that the playoffs are extended, so it's a little bit different. But is it division or bust as it's been the entire history with the Texans?
I would say no, but it's a really tiny window, and they're going to have to thread the needle if they're going to be a wild card team, just because it feels like there's some teams in the AFC from a playoff standpoint that, Cincinnati was really close last year. Pittsburgh made it. I don't think that either of those teams took massive steps back, and Cleveland's still going to be a drum for them to beat. And, Indy was around the conversation until the last couple of weeks of the season. They finished second in the division last year. So you could be on the in the hunt graphic. You're just going to be at the bottom if you're not winning the AFC South.
Yeah, I find that kind of fascinating. I guess, there's not really a ton to make of it. I guess you could just say that the AFC South has been kind of suspect, or you could just also say there's been like some real boom or bust years for the Texans when it comes to that. I just think it's kind of interesting to look at as we look at D'Amico Ryans and CJ Stroud trying to do something that has never been done around here.
They've never been one of the AFC elites. It's just, they've never gotten to that point as a team. They've always been in that second tier of the AFC for basically every time they've been really good. They've been below a team or 2 or 3 in the AFC.
So I want to touch on the junior year, approaching the junior year. And I know it's year 3 in the NFL is what we call it, but the junior year of CJ Stroud and the ups and downs heading into camp versus Deshaun Watson. And just throw aside the Deshaun Watson stuff, and let's kind of take a dive into that in a sec. Well, before that, let's kind of loosen it up since it is June. Who had the loudest, biggest, busiest offseason on the Texans this year? It's been kind of low-key for CJ after a real active offseason last year. We really haven't seen much from him. Now,
no TV show with Micah Parsons, no draft stream,
none of that.
No trip to Japan, no trip to France, no trip to the Middle East.
We haven't seen it. And by the way, do you want to admit that high-profile players can have secretive surgeries now? Are you willing to kind of concede that now?
I've never said that the high-profile players can. I just said it'd be different for a quarterback.
But
so which quarterback had a secret surgery and they got revealed this week?
St. Brown had the knee injury.
Amon-Ra St. Brown plays quarterback now, huh?
Oh my God, you're saying quarterback.
I've always said quarterback. Like
Amon-Ra is more public than any quarterback. Almost. He has a weekly podcast. We didn't even know he had surgery.
Yeah, he had a knee cleanup.
Yeah, you can have a shoulder cleanup. Anyway, who had the busiest and biggest offseason for the Texans? There's really not a lot of candidates unless you're picking up something that I'm missing. Joe Mixon's played a lot of video games.
And did anybody go to his house and figure out how to teach him how to stream yet? Like,
what he's doing.
But like, I feel like even just like recently, he was still asking people to come help him like set up his streaming rig.
Yeah,
Like,
I think that's what he's doing now. He's streaming.
so somebody got him and somebody set it up so that he could get his streaming going.
Yeah, I really want to ask Joe because I'm kind of I'm hoping that he still has the millennial appreciation. He's kind of right on the edge of Gen Z and millennial. That's what it is, right? The new era Gen Z millennial.
I don't know.
He's kind of right on the edge or whatever. But I wonder if he appreciates the old art of having a bunch of dudes over and just playing the game. Playing the game, the peanut gallery in the background, talking smack to you as you
pass the sticks.
Yeah. Shut up, bitch. I just beat you.
That's a quote from the past, straight from Landry Locker's mouth.
But yeah, I wonder if he has the appreciation of that. But Joe Mixon's played video games. Who's had an active offseason or the most active offseason not named CJ Stroud?
Well, CJ Gardner-Johnson changed teams and won't quit talking about the Eagles. And he's doing workout videos like every other week, but not working out with the team. So that's pretty, I mean, basically calling the Eagles liars for the past 2 weeks is, and maybe even longer. That's pretty active. He's up there.
That's probably the most public offseason that the Texans have had, and it's someone they traded for.
I mean,
after that, there's not really I don't follow these guys on Instagram. I don't follow them online. I try to like keep a healthy distance. If something happens though, then you'll check it out or you'll peep it or whatever, and it'll come across the line like through some of the aggregators that I follow. But I don't really hear a lot about these guys really doing much in the offseason.
I mean, I would say that there was 4 players that I came up with that have had busy off seasons, be it travel or being on social media or doing something.
Okay.
And lowest on this list for me, Jalen Petrie, 72 football camps, 347, appearances with local charities and a new contract.
Yes. But and someone said Derek Stingley, and it's like, well, he was working out when he signed his contract.
Yeah. So Stingley was on my list just because he's now the highest paid cornerback by average annual salary.
Mm-hmm. And
he blew past the number by $5 million. He did the podcast before he got paid.
Pivot with his dad?
With his dad.
Okay.
And then they had a press conference where he had to talk about getting paid, which is a lot for Derek Stingley.
It's out of his character.
That might have been a record-breaking length of a press conference for Derek Stingley. So he was on there. I don't follow him, but I hear about it because he's on the team now. But if there's been something big going on, like some big sporting event or some big Braxton Berrios has been there with his.
I wouldn't know.
Like he's like, I hear from my friends who are girls who are like, "Hey, do you know Braxton's on the team now?" I'm like, I mean, he's maybe going to make the team. I don't know.
It's going to sound dumb. Does he have a famous wife or something?
His girlfriend is a very famous influencer. And so he's at like,
what does she do? What does she?
She like puts on her makeup in the camera and
pull up some pics. Let's see.
Pull up Alex Earl. You never heard of her?
No idea who that is, dude. I'll be honest.
Yeah, she's like I mean, she's like, that's the best way I can describe it, is influencer, I guess is the best way I would say it. And she just goes to stuff like,
goes and does what?
Goes and does like, hey, I'm here. Like I'm at the Kentucky Derby, or hey, look, I had a swimsuit on.
Oh, so
I
she's
swim.
at the Sports Illustrated swimsuit thing.
Yeah. Like she's.
Oh, okay. So she was in it. Okay.
Yeah, she's. I don't know how to explain influencer to you if you don't know what influencer means, but like.
Yeah, I got you. No, but she's in Sports Illustrated, all that type of stuff.
Yeah, and like she was like, they were at the Kentucky Derby. Like they try out all these different, restaurants and bars and clubs in Houston because they've just moved here. Okay. Like, and she's always doing something, and he's, if he's not doing football, he's right there with her.
I support it. Okay, so he's one, and the Gardner Johnson thing I think is.
And then so Petrie, Stingley, Braxton Berrios, and then Tattoo Tank. I mean,
oh God,
when you got to go when you go under anesthesia to get a brand new tattoo, I think that's notable.
Yeah, but other than that, there really hasn't been a lot on the.
And even
really been a ton. That is crazy.
And even today, Tank on Instagram saying sooner than you think, whatever that means.
Okay. Where does he fit in? Like if one leg Tank is in this receiving core, where does he fit in?
Well, I mean, if he's healthy and can play football, see you later, Xavier Johnson or Xavier Hutchinson and Xavier Johnson for that matter. And I mean, John Mechie and everybody.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's if Tank Dell gets healthy to play football, then the wide receiver room, if healthy, is Higgins, Knoll, Collins, Kirk, Watson, Dell. Boom.
So I started thinking about the CJ Gardner-Johnson that you talked about. The
if I could bet on him not finishing the year with the Texans, I would bet on it.
Yeah, and I started to wonder, like, could that be someone that we look at as like a surprise cut? Because it's hard to really point out like this guy would be a surprise cut, but when you factor in the investment and all the stuff they've done at that position, I do wonder. I wouldn't bet on it. Like it's not a straight up bet, but I do find it interesting when you bring it up that way that they basically traded someone that they were going to cut for him, and we don't know how he fits in this system. Again wouldn't bet on it, but I would sprinkle something on it, and sprinkle something on it. It's like where there's a bet that pays 15-1 or something like that, and you decide to sprinkle.
Yeah, a Fiverr, or you get some change out of the cup in your car, and you're like, that's worth a wager. It's worth a bet. Again, I don't feel like it's likely. I just feel like it's a possibility. Just hey, you know what? You're a pretty decent football player. You're just not fitting in. We're going to go a different direction. You can go play for another playoff team.
Yeah, I could easily see that on the super chat. But yeah, just a real slow offseason for the Texans as far as
you ain't never
active.
Swarm.
Kyle says, "What's up?"
Did you have that one turned up a little bit higher than usual? That one,
Kyle, what's up?
That one came in pretty hot.
Did it?
Yeah.
JP says, me and the homies get on the game in person to play Madden whenever we have small kickbacks. We're all 2,000 babies.
Yeah, JP knows. JP, do y'all have 21 point skunk?
Everyone has skunk.
Okay, well, not everybody's 21 point skunk. I'm just asking.
Yeah, 21-0, man.
JP, have you ever made one of your friends walk home from Double Dave's after beating them at a football game?
HDAV Traveler says, afternoon, Landry, Cody, and friends.
Good to see you, my friend.
Good to see you, mi amigo. Does a slow offseason equal a better offseason? Someone in the chat asks. I don't know. Maybe. I think that the team probably likes it more, I would say. I don't think they're overly thrilled about Gardner-Johnson calling out Howie Roseman. I don't think that would be like their ideal, or Vic Fangio. I don't think they probably love that, but I would say that in this world, they would definitely prefer what they got this offseason as compared to CJ Stroud ranking himself a top 5 quarterback last year and some of the other stuff that emerged from that.
Oh, for sure. Quiet for the team is much better than calling out your old DC, your old team, traveling around the world, throwing passes in France and the Middle East and the Far East and all those things. Yeah. They'd love for everybody to just be Stingley and hang out at the facility all year.
He lives there, man. So CJ Stroud versus Deshaun Watson heading into their third training camp. I find this interesting for a number of reasons, because both of these guys, as we mentioned, and that's kind of how this emerged, both of these guys in their first full years as starters, and Deshaun's his rookie year got cut short in 2017, but they they ended up both winning the division. So as a result of that, I kind of took what's happened with CJ Stroud in year 3 or heading into year 3 and just kind of the highs and lows of it and kind of compared it to Deshaun. And there's similarities. There's kind of differences as well, because with Deshaun, you're talking about the torn ACL, but we saw he basically took the league by storm, much like CJ Stroud did in year 1. Now, they didn't end up making the playoffs because obviously he got hurt and it was a depleted roster. But then in year 2, they got to the playoffs. They lost 21-7 to the Colts, and you felt pretty good about them heading into year 3, which was 2019. And there'd been some highs and lows. CJ, same thing. One of the best rookie seasons of all time. Then year 2, same results as far as how far you went. Wouldn't consider it reaching the expectations that were laid out. And now we're talking about kind of a shoulder injury, and he's looking to win the division for the 3rd straight time. Like, what would you say the vibes are like with these two when it comes to heading into year 3? Like, if you had to compare these vibes.
Well, going into year 3 for Watson, you're coming off of a solid year. I know the playoff game was horrific, but overall, you're coming off of like an ascending year. Whereas CJ, didn't get a lot better like you expected in year 2. Like, Watson had some efficiency to him. It felt like he was a little bit more in control, a little bit more like you could sort of see where some of the growth was going with Deshaun Watson. And with CJ, like, you've got some growing pains that are in his control and then out of his control. I mean, Watson had those as well. Like, you're coming off of year 2 for Watson. You felt really good about year 3. I've got more questions about CJ year 3 than I did about Deshaun Watson year 3.
See, from like a player standpoint, I would say Deshaun I think he would probably be more widely regarded as a top 5 quarterback, perhaps heading into year 3. So I would say there was probably a little bit. We were talking about him and Mahomes, like at the time, even heading into 2019, like that was kind of the talk. And then after 2019, that kind of intensified. But the surroundings for Deshaun were such where you kind of felt like there was a little bit of a ceiling and he was kind of being held back by O'Brien. And there was a formula where you kind of had to save all butts. And with CJ right now, I think you kind of feel that way because you don't know about the offensive line. You don't know what the offensive line is going to do. But there is at least like some sort of hope when it comes to Nick Kayley. And I also think CJ has the superpower of the defense. But I agree with you from an individual standpoint. But the surroundings, there's at least, how we always say sometimes the unknown is better than the known, even if there's no guarantee that it's going to be a good thing. CJ at least has like an unknown when it comes to Nick Kayley. It kind of felt like B.O.B. was holding Deshaun back.
Yeah, I would think that most of us believed if Deshaun Watson was going to be one of the best quarterbacks in football, it was going to be in spite of Bill O'Brien. And if CJ Stroud becomes one of the best quarterbacks in football this upcoming year, it's going to be because they put everything right around him, and it was a good job by Nick Kayley, in addition to CJ Stroud doing what he needed to do. So like, it's going to be like a in spite of, and then it's going to be with. Like, I'm not getting there without you would be CJ Stroud. And then Deshaun Watson would be, well, I'm going to get there no matter if you're along for the ride or not.
Yeah, and this is the other thing that CJ is going to have to deal with that Deshaun wasn't going to have to deal with moving forward. And this is, I don't necessarily know that it was a good thing with Deshaun, but when you have a defensive-minded coach, like the better that Nick Kayley is, the more you might have to just abruptly change. And I don't know that they really have a pipeline or anything like that to where if Nick Kayley is good, you can kind of continue building on whatever he had. Like does Gerard Johnson run this system? So that's the other thing when it comes to having a defensive coach. And this was the biggest pushback on it is if CJ Stroud goes and sets the world on fire this year, and let's say that he's incredible, awesome, great, all that type of stuff, then that means probably Nick Cayley's going to, given the fact that he's connected to Sean McVay, you already have that. That means that you're probably going to be back to getting another offensive coordinator. So it's I guess the setup around CJ Stroud is all right, but it's not great. And it wasn't awesome with Deshaun either. So I don't think there's like a massive gap when it comes to surroundings.
The tough part about it is if Nick Cayley's amazing, he's going to have a chance to leave, and he probably will and should take it. That's not the case for a lot of the non-offensive minded head coach. Like Todd Monken's going to be the OC in Baltimore till forever, maybe. Like he's not going anywhere. So Lamar's got that going for him. And then Josh Allen has been able to do it with a couple of different guys. And it feels like, they're keeping that crew together for a while. And frankly, if I'm the OC there, I'll probably hang out long enough to hope that the head coach gets fired and I can just take his job. But there's some other great quarterbacks that
CJ's not Josh Allen. Like I'll just say that right now. Like I'm
not comparing him. I'm just telling you.
I know, like, but I know that there's reason for optimism when it comes to CJ, and I think CJ's good. But in this I know that the quarterback's the popular guy. He's not Josh Allen.
Now I'm just talking about situations where guys. I'm just using the team as the situation and the OC not leaving, and that guy getting more and more and more with the quarterback. Like maybe Nick Cayley's Ben Johnson and he waits a year or two after some success, but the law of averages tell you that most of those guys leave after they're enough success.
That's my thing. Like whenever we talk about multiple offensive coordinators and like success, like the examples that people will use as far as guys to point to that don't necessarily have offensive coaches, the two examples that you'll use, rightfully so, will be Lamar Jackson and Josh Allen. Like that's probably the direction you go, right?
I mean, the best example of it is what the Buccaneers have done, where they've had to change the OC 3 straight years.
Right. And
Baker Mayfield just played his best year of football.
Yeah. I
threw for 41 touchdowns.
You know what I think doesn't. I think Baker deserves credit for that because he's kind of under the radar with that. But you know what else I think that I think Todd Bowles might just, or whoever the hell's making the decisions to bring in offensive coordinators, they have like a nice ability to be able to bring in the right guy, especially given what Baker Mayfield was before he went to Tampa Bay and what he is now. Because it's not like the OC's going and coaching, I don't know, Aaron Rodgers in his prime or something like that. Yeah, I think Baker deserves a lot of credit, but I do think the Bucs deserve a lot of credit for doing that. But you are right on that.
Yeah, I mean, look, so here's the $1 billion question: is CJ Stroud closer to Josh Allen, or could the Texans do what the Bucs did, where they're able to hire multiple really good offensive coordinators?
Right.
Like, it's probably more likely that you could hire multiple offensive coordinators, but it's a unique, because most of the time, either the quarterback's not good enough or the offensive coordinator's not good enough, and you swap them and you change them. Like that's what happens more often than not. It's not that they hang around and don't leave. Like, I don't know why some team hadn't made Todd Monken a head coach right now. Does Todd Monken want to be a head coach? I don't know. He's probably pretty content coaching up an MVP candidate every year.
Yeah, I would say. But yeah, Lamar, like CJ's not Lamar and he's not Josh Allen. I don't think those are guys. I mean, those are freakish talents, freakish athletes that multiple systems, they just get it done. They obviously are very, very athletic, so they can overcome any offensive line deficiencies. They've actually done it for the most part, for the majority of their careers, without elite wide receivers, although Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen were a nice duo. So I kind of take that back. But I just don't think CJ is in that class. I don't see him being in that class.
Well, we may never find out if he has to change OCs every 2 years, but at the same time, if he's changing OCs every 2 years, he's probably been pretty good.
Yep. Or they've been bad at hiring OCs. Never know.
Or they've been bad. I mean, I'll sign up for 4,541 touchdowns and 16 interceptions right now.
Yeah.
Which that's what Baker did last year.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, Baker doesn't get enough credit still. Birdie Boy on the super chat says CJ came back to life in the playoffs, and that gets me excited. I thought the defense really was.
They sucked to begin that Chargers game.
Yeah, I mean the defense kept them in it and allowed them to be able to flip the switch. I thought that was more of a defensive thing. I thought they had their best drive on offense the first drive of the second half, but I mean, make no mistake about it. Like if we're power ranking, the defense had more to do with that Chargers win than the quarterback play. Birdie Boy
scored 12 points.
Birdie Boy again. Say it again.
The Chargers scored 12 points.
Yeah. And the Texans forced a godly amount of turnovers, pick 6, all that. I feel like CJ was the Texans scored 8 points just on returns. Special teams in. Yeah, 9, I guess, if you count the extra point. Birdie Boy says, I feel like CJ was held back by Bobby just as much as Deshaun was. And Deshaun already had the ACL injury, and that was always a worry. That was his second ACL injury, too.
I was like, it was in the back of my mind. Like, what if the knee's a big deal? But like, it wasn't like an ever-present thought about the knee. It's just ACLs feel a bit more business as usual than other injuries.
Yeah, no doubt, for sure. But we'll see what happens with CJ. I don't anticipate CJ Stroud being Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson. Maybe that's unfair? Don't know. Just my take.
Yeah. I don't. That was not what I was intimating in those situations.
No, I know. We'll see though. We'll see how the surroundings are and how he gets the job done. I think it's going to be very. It's going to look a lot different. It's not going to be a save all butts, which I think both of those guys do, and we've seen CJ do it in stretches. But we've seen those guys do it for like whole seasons. Just save all butts and just continue to do so. So we'll see. Unless DeMeco Ryans, of course, is not with Lamar, but with Josh Allen the one time. Not with Lamar at all. So this is kind of some June hackage because June is the slowest month. And I want to ask the question, what are the kids' snacks that still hit? And I ask this because I have developed a slimy habit of stealing my daughter's snacks. The fruit snacks yesterday, there were 2 left. I took both.
Which fruit snacks?
Hey, there's just some red grapefruit snacks. I took both. SpaghettiOs. Hey, I want to see if you like these. I might be making myself a bowl as well. What are the kids' snacks that still hit?
Welch's fruit snacks. Absolutely. Fruit by the foot. Still very good. Fruit roll up. Still very good. Honestly, there's a lot of like quick fix kid snacks that are even better now because you can air fry them, like bagel bites or pizza rolls or like taquitos. Like throwing that stuff all in the air fryer, it makes them even better now. Like back in the day, you're putting them in the oven and like the outside's like lava and the inside's ice cold. It's like it never really worked out in the oven. The air fryer, they're perfect, crunchy, right amount of hot. So like a lot of those, like a French bread pizza still hits.
Do Lunchables still hit?
Nope. Not for me.
Patrick makes a good point. She didn't finish the task on the Flower Girl snacks are for finishers. You're starving. You're starving till next time.
Yeah, Lunchables not for me just because
someone says nerds. You know they have nerd gummies?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, I wasn't hip to those till the other day when I was stealing those.
Oh, yeah.
Fun Dip, no thanks. Yeah, it's a point.
Yeah, I don't know why Fun Dip ever worked. I don't know. Fun Dip, no thanks. And then a lot of the ice cream treats still hit. You know,
no, all the ice cream treats still hit. Those are
like even like the rectangle ice pops still good.
They'll jam. Traditional popsicles, you can't go wrong with those.
Yep.
Just the traditional, cut them with the scissors.
I'm having a hard time coming up with stuff that doesn't work.
You just said Lunchables. You just dismissed Lunchables.
Yeah, but I've said so many other things have been positive.
But HEB Lunchables are good. Like the Oscar Mayers are not. They do not hit. But HEB has like the ones that have like the turkey sausage and the cheese and the honey roasted nuts. Those go in.
I would tell you, I'm not a big fan of Pop-Tarts and toaster strudel. They stink.
Not at all. Anyway, next week, business going to pick up a little bit. We'll be
Capri Sun still hits. Oh,
on the scene. Never hit. It never hit.
What?
Capri Sun never hit.
That's the worst take you've ever had.
Never hit.
The worst take you've ever had.
Never hit.
Put this on Twitter and you will get people will think differently about you.
It never hit.
Wow, you're totally wrong about this.
It never hit because first of all, it's a small drink. You can't even drink much of it. It's a pain in the ass to get, and the juice is it's not that great.
I'm sorry for your hand-eye coordination not being able to punch the straw in the hole.
Yeah. Anyway, appreciate everyone for coming through.
I didn't think we were going to have Capri Sun slander.
Be sure to ride along and be sure to always remember when it comes to this Texan stuff, we're all in it together.
Eat good, sleep good, be good. We'll talk Texans again soon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Have a great weekend.